Satou Kazuma and Natsuki Subaru are, in my opinion, the two best protagonists in the entire isekai genre. But out of the two, who is the greatest? And if you clicked on this video thinking this would be a power scaling video, I'm sorry to disappoint, as this video will be comparing the two as characters and as protagonists to see which is the superior character. Though if they were to fight, Kazuma would whoop Subaru's ass, no questions asked. Oh, and this video was a comment suggestion, but for some reason I can't find the original comment, so if you were the person to suggest this video, then make sure to comment down below, and if you have a video suggestion, then again the comment section is down below. If at any time during the video you find yourself entertained, then consider liking, subscribing and ringing the bell, as you don't know how much such a small action can do for this channel. Anyway, on with the video. Kazuma and Subaru are not your typical anime protagonists, in that they are not inherently inspiring or strong, unlike a character like Luffy or Goku for example. However, the aspect of their two characters that makes them shine so much in comparison to other protagonists is their relatability. And if you want a full in-depth discussion of this, then check out my No One Understands Kazuma video and my Subaru is a Relatable Guy video, but I will summarise it all here. Both Kazuma and Subaru are not chosen heroes, they are normal teenage guys who are plucked out of their worlds and sent to another world. And the fact they are normal people is why they are so likeable and relatable. Kazuma is a scummy person, I don't think anyone would disagree with that. He is selfish, lazy and lusty. So why, despite being so unlikable on paper, is he so likeable? That is because of relatability. Most people are not saints. We are complex creatures capable of both great selfishness and great selflessness. And even if we don't like to admit it, I think most of us can at least relate with one or two of the scummy things Kazuma has done throughout the series. And look, it's a lot easier to relate to a horny teenage guy who doesn't want to work than it is to an alien who only thinks about fighting and is strong enough to destroy the entire universe. And that is why I think Kazuma is so beloved. He is a personification of all the things we do but don't want to admit to, and I think in that regard, he becomes a bit of a guilty pleasure. Subaru, on the other hand, is a much better person than Kazuma when using conventional modern morals. Like Kazuma, he is also driven by his desires, such as his love for Emilia and his desire to keep all of his friends alive. If Kazuma is so relatable due to being an average scummy guy, then Subaru is relatable due to being a guy that has suffered over and over. We may not have all experienced being stuck in a time loop of endless death, but we have all experienced failure. Just like how we relate to Kazuma's scummy deeds, relate to Subaru's pain and tribulations. As I said before, I think this relatability is one of the reasons these two work so well as protagonists. If we are going to compare these two in any considerable depth, then we should of course mention the tonal differences between the two and their respective series. Konosuba is a comedy isekai with hints of adventure and slice of life. Kazuma as such is a comedic character, with his comedy often coming from his selfish and real feeling actions, and the way he often plays as a straight man to the series' other characters. As such, he is inherently a more light-hearted character, and although I would never say he lacks nuance or depth as a character, I will admit that his character arc is rather flat, but that is to be expected considering the nature of Konosuba as a series. ReZero, on the other hand, is a thriller isekai with elements of horror and suspense, and is much darker and in a way more mature than Konosuba. Subaru as such is a lot more serious than Kazuma, and has a far more deep and impactful character arc due to the more intense themes of ReZero. However, despite the different tones of their respective series, they are still fairly similar people, with them both being normal old otaku neets who were transported to another world and forced to survive in a world where they were severely underleveled. And if such similarities between their characters didn't exist, well, I probably wouldn't be able to make this video. One of the most important things though to look at when considering how effectively written a character is flaws. A perfect character with no flaws, unless done in a particular way such as Medaka, which I explore in this video, is usually boring and uninteresting. Stories are filled with trials our heroes must overcome and goals they must reach, so inherently a character with no trials to overcome or no goals is boring. Luckily for us though, both our two protagonists have flaws, and I think looking at these flaws is a great way of really showing how well written and real feeling they are as characters. Kazuma's flaws, as said before, are that he is scummy. He is not a perfect person by any means, being selfish, lazy and driven by his desires. His lusty actions, for example, have gotten him into many unfavourable situations, and don't forget, he's also very weak. And as I said before, good protagonists overcome these flaws, and while Kazuma may be weak, but he uses his smarts and cunning to overcome this, pushing his skills to the max and using them in a creative way that makes even the act of creating dirt a powerful attack. As such, Kazuma has many flaws like most people, being punished for some like his lust and working hard to overcome others like his natural weakness. And does Subaru also have flaws and such? Well, yeah, of course. Subaru may not have as many inherent flaws as Kazuma, he isn't lazy or particularly lusty, and he's very selfless. However, he is naive and ignorant of many things. And in quite a few scenarios, this ignorance combined with his seemingly good nature has led to mistakes being made. For example, Subaru was ignorant of his situation in the capital and how to express his affection to Emilia, and made a complete fool of himself, and his refusal to compromise and choose one life over another has led him to death many times. However, much like Kazuma, he overcomes his flaws, though not by brains and creativity, but by resolve and pure stubbornness. Subaru will kill himself and jump into death's arms as many times as it takes to reach his goals, and to save everyone he loves without sacrificing a single one. His solution to overcome his flaws, in a way, becomes a flaw of its own. He is stubborn to the point of self-harm, but he does not care. His way of thinking is both admirable, but also a obvious flaw. And this grey line between flaw and solution is what makes Subaru in specific so well written in terms of a flawed character. And although we may relate to Kazuma's flaws of being selfish and lazy, we still understand why they are bad and why they are called flaws. However, when it comes to Subaru, it is a lot harder to define his flaws as flaws, and this just goes to show the great nuance to Subaru's character. One of the biggest differences between our two isekai protagonists though is the way the two support their friends. Even though Kazuma doesn't show it as clearly as Subaru, they both value their friends to the highest degree. However, whereas Kazuma works with his party, helping them all to use their skills to the fullest in an amazing display of teamwork, Subaru does not. Instead, he puts all the weight onto himself, killing himself over and over until he can protect everyone despite the pain he causes to himself. Kazuma trusts his friends enough to let them be his support, and Subaru, too scared of losing those he loves, puts them at arm's length so he can save them all in the end. Neither of these two approaches is inherently better than the other, and we must remember how desensitized Subaru must be at this point to seeing his friends die, because it's happened so many times. And in the end, he can always just go back and change it. This is something Roswell comments on, saying that Subaru's reaction to Ram's death was more one of shock than actual grieving, as he knew that Subaru could just go back and save her next time. And although it is quite sad that Subaru now sees the lives of his friends as so little due to knowing he can always just save them again, the fact he still feels at all, and the fact he has the resolve to keep going, is one of the most admirable and inspiring parts of Subaru's entire character. Kazuma has suffered countless deaths himself and has lived in a stable in the freezing cold, but he has not suffered even a fraction of what Subaru has, and that again is due to the different approaches the individual writers gave to these two characters. Kazuma is an average person forced to live in a harsh world with useless companions, and Subaru is an average person forced to live in a harsh world where he has to keep losing his companions. The biggest difference between the two is that Kazuma has his useless party, his support, while Subaru is forced to watch his own friends, his own support die over and over in front of his eyes. Subaru is a far more tragic character than Kazuma and has suffered a good deal more, but again this is just due to the different stories the two exist within. And another thing to note is how Kazuma is generally a reactionary character, doing things only when he has to or is forced to, whereas Subaru is a more proactive character, taking steps and making choices himself in order to reach his goals. And this again plays back into relatability, as we can both relate to not wanting to do stuff and pushing them off like Kazuma, but also in putting in effort when the task at hand is something we really care for, much like Subaru. So overall, who is the better character? Well, that is for you to decide. There is no objective way to rank fictional characters, as it is at the end of the day all subjective and up to your own opinion. For me, I see Subaru as the more nuanced and thematically profound of the two, however despite this I do prefer Kazuma. Why? Because Kazuma to me just invokes a sense of humanity and realism that so few fictional characters have ever shown me. Yes, Subaru is a relatable guy and I can relate to his pain and suffering, even if only to a slight extent. But Kazuma to me, at least, just feels like a real person, and so to me is the superior protagonist. Though do remember that both Kazuma and Subaru are top 10 characters in all of anime for me, and that Konosuba and ReZero are also top 10 series for me. So if you personally prefer Subaru, then I completely understand, as they are both such excellent characters. Thank you to the mysterious person who suggested this video, and sorry if it took so long to come out. I love both these series very much, and will of course be making more videos on them both in the future, so stay tuned for that. Comment of the week is in this case actually 3 comments of the week, as I really couldn't choose which of these 3 comments I wanted to pick, because they all just really touched me. So those comments are from The Heavenly Weeb, Blank Butter, and your boy Triton, who all left really encouraging and
quite heartfelt messages on my latest video on The Boys, which was quite heartwarming to me because it's not an anime video, so I'm glad that even videos not based on anime still do well and people still enjoy them on my channel. Also, this is my new mic if you can hear it, so hopefully from now on the audio on this channel is going to sound a hell of a lot better.
If you have any opinions on Kazuma or Subaru, then tell me in the comment section down below, and if you have a suggestion for a future video, then again the comment section is funny enough down below. Also, don't forget to check out my Twitter at SethTheS for channel updates and just general chatter, and my DMs are always open if you want to chat to me directly, or check out my Instagram at SethTheSin_cosplay to see my cosplay or random anime merchandise. So with all that said and done, I have been Seth the Sin, the deadly sin of geek, and I am signing out. Stay safe, everyone.